first of all, thank you all for coming, because, this is like the hour before happy hours, so, so welcome and thank you for coming. My name is Maria Borys-Piątkowska. I'm an ambassador of the Women in Games and a lead narrative designer and story consultant. However, today, the stage won't be mine. The stage will belong to these lovely ladies that are with me. We are all the Women in Games ambassadors belonging to the Women in Games Association. That was founded in 2009. So it's a long, long time ago, and through the Women in Games, among others, of course, we actually developed our careers. And we will talk about, today we will talk about what women in games can do for you, for all of you, actually. With me today are, Joanna, Melania, Mafalda, actually, and you should switch. Doesn't matter. And Carolina, sure. Before you girls introduce yourself more in detail, I would love to make a short, let's say, brief that our goal as a Women in Games is to foster the synergy, is to support the careers, mostly, of course, the women's careers, and organize events that are a part of our industry and that help develop our careers. How is it like organized and how does it look like in particular countries? We will tell it in a moment. So, I think the first question would be, of course, apart from asking you to introduce yourself, what were your humble beginnings in the Women in Games? Who wants to start? Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna. I'm a marketing consultant at the moment. I've been in games since 2021, worked at 11-bit studios, Klabata, No More Robots as well. These days, I'm a consultant and working as a freelancer and working a 9-to-5 outside of games, actually, which is fun. And I've been in Women in Games since 2022. I got approached to be an ambassador by Charlie, who is a wonderful coordinator and one of the more important women within the organization, based on the charity work I was doing with Women in Games at the time. And my beginnings were very much about talking about being an ambassador and trying to get as many women I knew to sign up and get, started in the organization. We have meetups every year, big conferences that are covered online. We have meetups such as, for example, this panel, or meetups during games coming out, the bigger events. And I started organizing events of my own in Poland because me and Maria are both based in Warsaw. I do them monthly since December 22, so it's going to be 2 years actually next month. And just talking and really trying to showcase women already working in the industry and showing that we're not alone, because sometimes, the 38% sounds very small. But it is that we are part of the industry. We've always been there, and I think it's always about reminding people that, we've been there since Centipede, other games, and all the other cool stuff.
So, 1, 1, 2, 2. So hi everyone, my name is Melania. I firstly also need to mention that it's very interesting that almost all of us are from different countries, working in different companies on different positions in the different fields and departments, but we're united because of the Women in Games. So it's also very sweet. So I live in Lithuania and I work in the gaming industry for 5 years. I'm a part of the Dev2Dev team. We actually do not develop any games or publish. We help them to grow, to scale, and to analyze what users do inside. So it's a product analytics platform. How I became a Women Game Ambassador. So I think it was during the pandemic times, and I was just looking for communities, events online, some things to spend my time, not just sitting at home or walking with the dog in the forest. And then at the same time, I started to mention that many girls have this Women in Games Ambassador on the LinkedIn. So I just got curious, I Googled it, I applied, and then I got accepted. So I think it was 2.5 years before, maybe 3 already. And yeah, since that time, I'm happy to be part. And maybe thanks to this organization, I'm sitting on this chair today.
So I'm Afala Duarte. I'm a studio director and producer for Telescope Games. It's an indie studio based in Potsdam, in Germany. I've been in games since 2014. Started to be a part of small indie teams, organizing events. And how did I join women in games? So I organized communities since like forever. I love to set up spaces and you know, if I don't see it, I'll just build it. And in that progress, at some point I went to my first DevGAMM in 2019, and I went to a Women in Games breakfast there. And that's when I knew about it for the first time. And then later, like earlier the year after, in 2020, I met David, which was one of the founders of Women in Games. And it told me about the organization, what it was about. He was like, I see you everywhere, like you're always doing things, you should be an ambassador too. So that's how I started to be an ambassador. And then nowadays I worked for Women in Games as an ambassador coordinator, so I accepted all these lovely ladies. I sent the emails saying, yes, you're welcome. And it's my passion to work for a nonprofit. That is also part of my job, and that I get to after being empowered by the organization itself, also bring others and empower others. The first things that I did, and 2020, bear with me, it was like January, so I was accepted in like February, and then March, the pandemic hit. So I was like, oh, we're just starting this thing. It would be the best thing ever. Now I'll organize all the events, and then I didn't. So the first Women in Games official event that I organized as an ambassador was this coffee morning with my besties. It was like, Bruna was there, and Katarina, and we were all in our pajamas. And it was like one more person, I think. I forgot who was. I know who it is, but I forgot their name. Anyway, it was the four of us in our pajamas with coffee, and this was the very first Portuguese Women in Games event on Discord in the pandemic. So, and that taught me very early on, like the impact of the little things, how that is important, and I guess like kind of that grew into whenever the opportunity came to, okay, can you come and support the other ambassadors and teach them how to do that and how to feel empowered in the little things and the big things, like what we're doing here right now. Yeah, that's why I joined, and that's what it made for me.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carolina. I am a senior community specialist in Borys Games. And I became a Women in Games ambassador because of this lovely lady. Because she was basically a beacon about the community, and I looked at the really good work that you've been doing, and I was like, I want to be part of that, I want to help out, I want to contribute. Technically, I'm still a baby ambassador, so I'm still giving my first steps, so I'm very, very happy to be sharing the stage with you, lovely ladies. But yeah, looking forward to the future.
Cool, thank you. Before we jump to another question, let me just bring a short anecdote of how we met with Melania. Because it was like a year ago, and me and Joanna, we had an idea to spread the word about women in games in Poland, so where we live. And I was actually in charge of organizing this panel. This is the third time I'm hosting this panel, and it's wonderful still. And I was at DevGAMM in Gdańsk that time. And I was just scrolling the schedule and scrolling the list of of participants. And I was looking specifically for like women connected with women in games. And I saw Melania. Okay, meet to match, go on, let's meet. And we met actually by the table in one of the meet to match rooms. And I just told her, okay, so I'm organizing a panel regarding women in games and their role in the game industry. And I will be doing it at Digital Dragons Krakow this year, so 2024. And she said, okay. That was it. And that is how our friendship actually happened.
First 5 minutes, I was hoping you wanted to do business with us. But yeah, I was just honest. And then she was like, no, I want you to be on the stage with me. So I was like, well, at least I get something. So yeah, for sure, let's do it.
Yeah, And that's it. If we have time in the end, I will also share a quick anecdote of how I joined Women in Games, but I will keep you in a climax right now and move on to the most important, one of them important things, the programs, the ambassador programs that we have. Actually, as you see, we have three programs, three types of programs: individual, corporate, and educational. And could you tell us more about all three programs and what is the benefit of them? Sure,
can I
go
join
on.
in? Yeah, so I should update the document because right now the individual program already has people in 78 countries and we are over 2,000, so I think it's like 2,050 women in games. And that's basically the individual program is what allows us to grow to that impact areas, right? Because sometimes it's just like we have like one woman in Uruguay or like, you know, and that is like so powerful just to feel like maybe if you were there by yourself, you're like, yeah, but what can I do? It's like my own voice, and suddenly you kind of have the weight of all these other women connected through that individual program. And that's basically what that program is, right? It's like this big community of support, of like contacts. If you're an event organizer, the amount of times that they just jump in there and they're like, oh, anyone available in this area? It's a great way for us to break in, right? To have like early opportunities, because a lot of times, you know, we're vetted to be ambassadors in either by working or because of like the type of advocating work that you're doing. And so that gives strength to the individual. Then the corporate ambassador, it's about the studios themselves in kind of bringing the industry in and having the studios be ambassadors, and that means that they are behind Women in Games as an organization and with their values. It's a signaling for that, and creates this ecosystem, right? Now you have individuals that would connect to the studios, that would connect back to academia through the educational program. And so the idea is that all of those programs, like while they grow, they would also intertwine, and for a school needs a speaker, they might go to the individual ambassador program. If, you know, a school is doing research, we also do a lot of research of like Women in Games impact data. We do that connected with schools. If we do events like the career events, so that companies can come and recruit through our communities and through our platforms, that's like something where the corporate ambassadors would be able to join in. And so that's a little bit of like the full programs. Yes.
Cool, thank you. Okay, so let's move on with the, let's say, functionality of those programs and how we can support each other. Are there like online events, or are there like any other offline events or some platforms that are used by Women in Games to integrate people?
Discord. Discord is really, really useful, and I think I suggested country divisions as well that were implemented. Yes, so I think the very big plus of the organization is that we are listened to as ambassadors, and it's really good that you, for example, get connected to women actually in the country. One of my friends was moving to Spain, I think, for a job with Larian, which I was very happy she got because she's a super good designer, and she just basically messaged the chat, are there any ambassadors there? Somebody replied, and she immediately had a connection. I think it's also great for Gamescom. We were supposed to make breakfast plans a few times. There's always a breakfast that gets booked immediately. The tickets run out, but then you get a group of people who don't know each other and wouldn't be able to meet each other anyway in any other way but that Discord, and you immediately have a network. Also, at least in Poland, Facebook groups, which we tried to revive a few times. And just being able to meet face to face and being like, oh, you're doing that particular conference, let's grab a lunch, let's grab coffee. I think the LinkedIn as well profile badge, or the volunteering experience as you two connected on. I think that helps a lot. And I think newsletter, at least for me personally, the newsletter that's being sent out to ambassadors or those that sign up to the page, because I don't think you have to be ambassador to be on the mailing list itself.
No, we do have a mailing list that is public, so everyone here can just sign up to that and see, updates, highlights from ambassadors' work, but also just like news that are relevant for We Are as an organization.
Yes, and the Discord is open as well, because we as ambassadors have a different section that's closed off, but overall it is open, and I think discussions there are super useful, because there are different topics, I think, each week. Sometimes there are different job offers as well that are being posted, speaking gigs as well, and you don't have to be ambassador to get involved. I think that's a big leeway and really something that you can shape yourself. Like, you don't have to make, for example, online events like I do for the past 2 years. You can do panels like these. You can show up to the conferences. You can, support each other even on a small scale, because then even one-to-one mentorship, I think that's super important. And sometimes the less glamorous tasks are the ones that are counting the most. And we actually met with Melania way before the two of them met, because I was doing panel, maybe not a panel, a speech on marketing, but then Lithuania Association, they invited me to do a breakfast on women in games and be an ambassador, and we reconnected in Digital Dragons, because we stayed in touch, but from that meetup in Vilnius, it was sometime, I think a year or a year and a half. Can't really remember now, because the timeline got switched for me in 22 and 23.
At that time, you were an ambassador already,
yes,
right?
I
wasn't, I think. So yeah, it was a good surprise when Maria approached me and she was like, Joanna also will be there, and I was, okay, this sounds familiar. So yeah, apparently we met in Vilnius. Yes. And also we don't have like a special group in Lithuania like dedicated to women in games and so on, but we have Lithuanian Game Developers Association. And they're doing a great job. They're doing quarterly meetups and so on. So they invite people from different countries also to speak, to give some panel sessions, then to have drinks, network, and so on. So so that's why you were invited there, and it was it's nice. You see this is how you sometimes don't expect. I never expected that we would sit on the same stage. So it's really nice. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it's very important that you're saying that, like, for example, in Lithuania, you don't have a specific presence, but I think that part of, like, you go to any event, any conference, and you can kind of pinpoint those people that are, like, being this, like, kind of beacons of some types of values that you connect with and you want to talk about. Like, it's a very useful experience. I think that's, like, part of why we started talking about that. And for example, when we talked about you becoming a Women in Games ambassador, was because you were already doing that type of advocacy, and kind of suddenly, just like, I think people will treat you a little bit different, because it's kind of, you now have the everything that comes behind it, right? Like the power of that knowledge, the power of that network, and the power of that environment.
And also the fact that it's like officializing the whole thing about the group actually has a name, the group actually has an identity. And I think identity is such an important part of any community, that like, people will recognize you, like, oh, you're part of Women in Games. You are advocating for something here. You are socially driven. You are here to make an impact. You're not just here to just... Networking is all fun and games and all of that. It's cool, and I know you're an expert, but it's also something like, we have a goal of creating and building and supporting a community and really a support network, right? So I think, in the industry, yeah, exactly.
So I think the main reason why I was looking for some communities to join during the pandemic, because we don't have this in Lithuania, right? And this Lithuanian Game Developer Association, they started to doing some active things actually after the pandemic. So that's why at that time I found the Women in Games, and I think I was the first one from Lithuania to join it, actually. So it's a coincidence. But then I was I was talking with the other girls during these meetups, and I think we have more right now, because I personally know at least 2 girls also from Lithuania. So we're growing a little bit. You will soon need a special Lithuanian chat in the Discord, I hope. Yeah, but bit by bit, we're going there, and it's really nice. Because I think because of me, when I started to talk about this, others also joined from Lithuania, and no one knew before it. But right now we have a nice network, and the girls that I also can write and just go and take coffee, talk.
It's almost a mirror of the industry itself, right? Because then you start
Yeah.
to see like the more people that are joining, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe there's like more of us, or even for again events. Event organizers, and they're like, oh, we want a jury or a speaker or whatever, and then they kind of, again, that's a signal to how to find. And I think that's like all of the programs do for different needs, because again, I think, yes, we're talking about our experience as individuals, but that's kind of what happens in corporate, right? Again, if you're, sure, there's a lot of companies that do pinkwashing and just like, they're just joining because, but hopefully, if they're like being a part of certain events, like the careers events or the annual conference that you mentioned, that means they're like, they're kind of putting their money and their efforts and their time where their mouth is. So you as an individual, when you're looking for places to work and places to do business with, you also kind of have a little bit of that almost like security in a first approach that, okay, we'll be on somewhat of the same page.
Cool. So let's stay a bit in this topic, what we do as ambassadors. And I know possibly you already answered part of my following questions before, but could you all tell us, how does it look? What are the specifics? What do you specifically do as a women in games in your country? How does it look like? Because we said, like in Poland, we have this Digital Dragons and GIC Games Industry Conference, and where we have those breakfasts, where we have also the whole program, like the whole stage under the wings of Women in Games, where there are like, of course, like lectures of all of the speakers, but it's like specifically signified by Women in Games. And what are in your countries, because we are all like from different countries, how does it look like? What is the specifics? If there are any, of course.
I mean, I can start because,
Sure.
like I said, baby ambassador here. I'm still like giving my first steps. And you guys that are all here, just so you know, you're under NDA because nothing has gone out yet, okay? So no, nothing leaves this room from now on, okay? Okay. But the first step... Don't
want to sign it.
And they're from my company too. Come on, man. Come on, man.
A friendly A.
Okay, they will stay.
Wow, I see you. No, I'm kidding. But so the first steps that we are taking, and I've actually enlisted like a couple of also other women in, not just Women in Games, but also in other local associations here for women in games and women who enjoy games as well. So not necessarily professionals, but people that like to be involved. To create sort of like educational program for at the start people in high school, so kids in high school who aren't even aware, for instance, in Portugal, that the video game industry is here. I see you guys leaving. Don't forget the NDA, huh? Okay. Thank you.
Come back as an ambassador.
Yes. Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
Did someone record it?
Oh. But the idea here is honestly to just normalize the fact that women are a part of this industry. And as you said, like we're 38% of the industry right now. Probably will grow in the past couple of years or in the next couple of years, hopefully. And one of the things that we want to approach is the fact that this is absolutely a normal thing. It's not like a pinkwashing thing. It's actually just people being people, regardless of their origins, their gender, their identity, whoever they are. And I think we are going to start with these young adults, really, because by high school you're already like in an age where you make really important decisions for your life. But the goal actually is to even go below that, to actually start to approach even younger kids and educate them about the possibilities of a career in games and normalize the fact that it is a very inclusive and accepting community itself. To the point that maybe we will, if everything goes well, and again, NDA, okay? We will actually approach parents so that they can basically be there for their kids whenever they play a game. So let's imagine a kid opens a game or gets a game for Christmas and it's actually approaching some adult themes. How do you handle it? Like, how would you help out the kid understand the nature of the game, and can they actually play the game without it, I don't know, being traumatized, I guess? Because there are a couple of games that are a little bit strong, let's say, and exuberant about certain topics. So yeah, that's one of the first steps. Stay tuned for more for the Women in Games platforms, because I will hopefully be announcing it, and we will also be announcing it very soon. And yeah, that's the humble beginnings of Women in Games ambassadorship for me.
Who else wants to,
I don't have a lot to say about the Lithuanian Women in Games parts. Yeah, because as I mentioned before, we have a Lithuanian Game Developer Association who are doing a great job. They're supporting, they're doing offline events, and they did online events, and they're also participating in the different conferences. I think I need to work on creating a Women in Games in Lithuania, because now I'm listening to you. And I know several actually groups in Poland on this topic, let's say. So there is some work to do in Lithuania. We need to start, because I'm not the only one right now in Lithuania who is a Women in Games ambassadors, but everyone is always super happy to visit these offline events, to network, to chat, to meet people. So we need to use this opportunity, and I think yeah, there is some room for Women in Games meetups in Vilnius soon.
Okay, sure. So I think in Poland it's very curious because we're one of the bigger markets, so the ambassadors were there for a very long time. Some of them I think are more active, some of them less so, and I think that's the beauty of the organization, at least in our country, that there are so many different things to different folks now. So for example, Digital Dragons, GIC, the breakfasts, and they're more student-oriented, I would say. There are meetups that are organized monthly, for example, in Warsaw or Krakow, that are not gender specific, but still some women-friendly topics are there. I make my own events for the last 2 years. It's called Kobiece Game Dev, which is like female game dev. And my goal was to make a platform for women who are already making games or trying to break into it, to be able to recognize each other, network with each other, and really gain the confidence to go to the conferences. Because at least in Poland, the biggest problem I've seen is that women assume they are alone, which is very not true, because our market, at least I think it's like 28%, 25%. We are the second in Europe. UK is the first one, I think with 29% of women overall in game dev. And a lot of times women just don't go to places because they think they're going to be alone, or they're going to be made fun of, or as I heard it many a time from actually older ambassadors, women who are in the 40s, 50s, that have been in the game dev for 20 or 15 years, that it's a sausage fest and they don't want to go. And to me, it was a very big disappointment to hear that, because at least my experience was that it was the men who welcomed me the most to the industry, and they were doing the introductions, they were doing all the necessary sort of introductory course, a crash course, a networking doing conferences. And my goal at least was to make it so that women didn't feel the need as well just to stay in women-only spaces, but to go with, just chest out, go into the conferences, feel comfortable talking about the game they're developing, talking about the opportunities they want to be vouching for, just apply for the jobs as well. Because most of the time, we are too scared and we assume that we're not going to get the role, not going to get the part, not going to be part of panels. I've organized panels and it's such a big pain to get women to talk and to even go on stage because they assume they're not going to be comfortable enough or professional enough. Whereas with at least guys that I've had the pleasure of working with, just give them any topic, they're going to talk and it's going to be fun or not. It's going to always be fun to them, at least. But with women, it's always the sort of, am I good enough? Am I not good enough? And at least in Poland, there are things for all people. And we've had ambassadors who are, I think, 10 years or longer, very much from the start of the organization. And super happy to hear other countries are joining in. And for Facebook groups, there are different ones oriented more at students, more at those already in dev, or those wanted to stay in indie scene. And at least for me, I would like to have more English-speaking opportunities in Poland, because I think we're kind of the hub of game dev, at least in Central Europe, and English-speaking people are not cared for enough yet. And I think that's a sort of grey area to cover, at least for maybe women in games, maybe in the future.
Yeah, and I think I can speak more, not for Portugal, because Carolina covered that, but as Women in Games as an organization, how we're looking at the different countries and the different needs around the world, right? Because the thing is, we are coming from a very European perspective. We're all from European countries, but we have ambassadors in all the continents. So Women in Games is definitely listening to the fact that all of these different countries will have different types of challenges. Maybe in some places, oh, it's not about representation anymore, that's enough Women in Games organizations or events or activities or whatever, people get it, but now there's a problem with leadership or kind of having this glass ceiling, right? And what does it mean to cross that? Maybe in some other countries, it is even just about existing as a woman, and even how speaking out can become a problem for them and their families and their futures. There is a lot of different realities, different access to tech, different how can you even think about a career in games if you can't even think about even owning a computer, right? So these are things that we're paying attention to. And one part of what Women in Games is soft launching right now is the ability to also be inclusive for what exists already in the different ecosystems. Because some have nothing and some have different types of people already building things. And so that's a part of what I love about Women in Games is kind of this idea of again, the umbrella organization and the idea that we could kind of connect through it. So other than the core organization that exists, that is UK based, we have officially one other chapter right now. It's the Asian chapter, Women in Games Asia. And then one official associate, Women in Games Italia. And then developing this idea of guilds, and so that, for example, Women in Games Poland can join in, so that Women in Games, so that all the local things that are being built by, I've been talking to the ambassadors okay, keep building your things, and then we'll figure out a way to to incorporate it. Because again, when it comes to having an organization, that means legal stuff, and that means a bunch of other things. It's how can we do that and still make people be independent and still give them just the tools, while keeping this cohesive message and language. And yeah, so I think on that organization level, that is one of the main important things is how can we create unity in the diversity that it actually exists in the space.
Yeah, totally. I would add one more thing, because you said, Carolina, you said a very important word, identity. And regarding this identity and support from Women in Games, I actually experienced a couple of times a situation where I'm a lecturer as well. I'm teaching narrative design, and most of my students, female students, before I told them I'm an ambassador of women in games, they were like all the time asking me questions of, am I enough? Is my work enough? Am I important? Do I know? Do I have all that knowledge that the men do, right? And I was, of course, telling them that it's like, you have to try, just, you know, send your portfolios, try, do the tasks, and so on and so on. And finally, you will hear yes from the recruitment, right? But after I said I am an ambassador of the women in games, they were like, Jesus, is this kind of a thing that is real? So we can be together, we can have like an identity. And throughout the time, we started even organizing some, let's say, meetings or panels, like unofficially. However, there were like more of women in games from Poland to support those students or aspiring, you know, game developers, and we're like really supporting them and telling them that okay, you can do more, you are enough, right? And that was really helpful when we could, you know, we could refer to this identity, and I felt I somehow thought that, and I see it still. That this is important for them because they feel this integrity and unity. Yeah.
Sorry, and I just want to
Yeah,
add
yeah,
that
go on.
we keep saying like support and identity, and you might think, oh yeah, sure. So you have a name, or like is that about like having a logo? But the actuality of the thing is like. The reason why we use words like that is because like support is kind of all-encompassing of things like we have access to resources like the Women in Games Leveling the Playfield Guide that has a bunch of stories, articles, how to like things that we could act on and actionables for engaging in the industry to do things like building community, education, for ethical game design, and all of that encompasses there. We do, you know, activities like there's this leadership, what's it called? It was with the University of Nottingham, I think, this leadership workshop on how to become a mentor and to be a mentor, like kind of learning how to make the right questions, how to engage in a mentorship relationship and things like that. You know, situations like we have the ambassador only event that is only for Women in Games ambassadors, and it is a very safe space for, you know, trying to be a speaker for the first time, because everyone that is there is the people that are already engaged in the ecosystem. So that is what we mean when we say, you know, this identity and this support community, because again, it's just like, it's a collection of tools and it's a collection of opportunities that we can take advantage of because we're a part of the program. And the more of us that exists, also the more opportunities exist, right? Because then it's what you're saying, oh, I'm organizing this somewhere else, and kind of just bringing back to the community, can you come and be a speaker, or can you come and support whatever I'm doing, like being a lecturer, right? And it's like, kind of, do you want to come and help?
Sure, yes. Okay, ladies, because we are we keep talking that we are ambassadors, and it is cool to be an ambassador. So, to summarize, how does the process of applying to be an ambassador look like? How can you achieve that? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Let's ask our baby ambassador, because probably you did it not that long time ago that we did.
It was a fever dream. I don't remember anything. It was actually pretty simple, but it was actually also, and you will probably be better at speaking like the actual like what you need to actually do to do that. But like I remember when I was applying to become an ambassador, I actually had to do a little bit of self-reflecting about like, okay, why do I actually want to be part of this community and have the fancy Women in Games badge? Am I just doing it for the street cred, maybe? No, like I had to actually think a little bit about like, okay, what is my goal with this? And it actually made me realize that it's just a matter sometimes of just being like part of that identity, part of that community, but also to be up to step up if I am needed anywhere. However, the actual steps are relatively simple. I remember it's just filling out a form with all the
On the website.
on the website, exactly, and you get like an approval, hopefully, most likely. You do that self-reflection. You actually explain why you want to become part of the community and what you plan to do once you are part of the community, and you are embraced by this community after you are accepted, and very happily so.
I think it's also good to just talk to ambassadors like ourselves and really understand what we're doing and whether it's something that you'd be up for and, you know, find interest in. And at the end of the day, I think the referrals are usually also the most, I don't know how to say it, maybe not time consuming, but the ones that you do feel that it's something that you want to be part of. At least, yeah, a badge of honor and a badge of just being accepted into the crowd. Because at least for me, it's the friendship referrals that I see my friends doing it, and I want to be on it with them. And at least for me, it was also about having the support in very crisis situations, and just knowing that, you know, hearing weird remarks or just not being accepted as something, it's not happening to me. And the sorts of conversations that usually don't happen outside of associations like Women in Games, I think these are kind of hot topics. And when you see that, oh, that person who is a safe space for you is an ambassador as well and is very vocal about it and can support you as a friend and does it also as the ambassador, I think that's the best referral that can be. And I think usually people stay with the association for a long time.
Oh, sorry. Just going to say that in terms of like how you get approved, it's very much, you know, you fill the form, you say why, what would you like to do, and what you've been doing, right? And it's very much, you know, are you aligning with the values? Are you someone that is in the game industry or wants to be? And we're very open with what does that mean, because Women in Games is for players too, but it's not about like playing games at home like as a sport, but it's also for esports people, for example, right? So if you've been streaming for a while, it's kind of hard to distinguish, are you a professional or not? Like, I'm not asking you for like how much money have you made streaming. It's more about like, are you talking about games in a professional manner and way? So we accept a lot of students that are like, you know, super active, like they're just doing all the things. So why are those requirements? Is again because if you're an ambassador, you think you said something very beautiful about like the being available, right? I think that's like one of the main things is like you are putting yourself in a position where you're like, are you okay?
Are you okay?
All right.
Help.
Oh my God.
Okay, someone.
Are you hurt?
As long as
No?
everyone's
Okay.
okay.
Are you hurt? Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Live Q&A, everyone.
That yes.
This was great, and it wasn't. I mean, it it wasn't directed.
I'm just
it wasn't
worried
on
for you,
purpose.
but like we're okay. We're okay. We're strong, independent. Nothing hurts us. And yeah, sorry. Like I'm like so hard. But yeah, anyway, like it's important that you're visible, that you're present, and that you're available, and so that's part of the application process and the acceptance. You don't get a no letter because it's too many people and I can't handle it. But I'm trying. But normally the goal is like what we put in the website and we explain is like we accept ambassadors every quarter. So if you haven't got anything until the quarter, probably you weren't accepted. But you know, the secret trick is that if you send me an email saying, "Oh, yeah, I wasn't accepted. Is everything okay?" I'll probably, see that as like, okay, you're very passionate about this. You really want to be an ambassador. I'll take a second look at your application and I accept you.
So it's simple, as you see and as you hear. Ladies, thank you so much. I guess we have some time for questions. yeah, there's someone here. Okay.
Hello, thank you for your speech and thank you for the presentation. I would like to say that I only regret that I didn't know about this organization when I lived in Poland, like how it happened. So, but thank you for making this. And I would like to ask, when when a woman becomes an ambassador, like for example, I send the application, I get the approval, then what my responsibilities next? Like, are there things that I must do, or like I'm just existing and I'm available, as Carolina mentioned, or like what is it about for the newbie ambassador?
Let's see what you remember.
Thank you so much.
I think being open and just being yourself and being like a woman in games, definitely. So, for example, working or playing or sharing the spirit of the organization. So, for example, being able to mentor someone, being able to support each other. I think it's very diverse because each of us is at a different stage of their life and career. For example, students have more time. They have more time, for example, to do events, volunteer, really be the faces of the organizations. Other people have time for panel, for, a talk. And other people will always do, not the groundwork. I think in Polish there's a much better phrase for that. It's the very important everyday task. So you're showing up, for example, to other panels, you're supporting your colleagues, you are showing that, girls and women are making games and we're not just, a new thing in the industry. We've always been there. And it's very personal at the end of the day, I think. It's, supporting your colleague or your friend when she says that she doesn't feel like a gamer or she doesn't feel like a part of the industry, she doesn't feel represented. Going to high school, I did actually as a Women in Games ambassador. I went to a high school with a friend. It was her old high school and we talked to the high schoolers about careers we were having, which was really fun. And I think it's very personal and the time commitment is not, mandatory. There's nothing, a star, a golden badge, and how much commitment
however,
you do.
we are asked to show the logo in LinkedIn or other, social media. And whenever we are doing some lectures, I remember it was 4 years ago when I was applying, so maybe something is out of date. However, I was told that here you have the logos, and if you may, just put them on the presentation wherever you are doing it. And that I remember. And since I am like overactive in every field of my life, I am also all the time keeping, ideas to spread the word about women in games. So, but that's not, a requirement.
Yeah, so but if you want to know like steps specifically, the website has it. It's like the ambassadors are expected to be a role model, be involved with women in games, reaching out to other individuals, be advocates for women empowerment, and being part of the community. So, and also, be subscribed to the newsletter. If you guys are not subscribed to the newsletter, I'll flag your emails. Because that's like the point of communication. So sometimes I might need to send you emails, and if you cannot talk to me, then, you're out. But stop blocking me. But it's more about like it's being involved, right? And it's super okay when at some moments you cannot be involved. You can step in, step out. I have women sometimes reaching out saying, can I kind of freeze my membership? My home life is crazy or something like that. And I think there's a very I think empowerment feeling that it's like you don't have to hold space. It's okay. The space is there. Like it welcomes you in and out. It's not that you need to, kind of burn yourself out to be like super active every time. There's times where maybe you organize like this big thing and then, like 2 years kind of on the download, just available. So that's why we do use that idea, like, as long as if you are in one of those like ambassador only events and someone adds you on LinkedIn and they are also an ambassador and you're like, yeah, it's okay. Like that's already like a big step because for that person that means a lot. That means maybe they never had that open doors before.
And I love to show logo because that's how I find people to make things with me. So,
And they find you.
yeah.
Hello. Oh, hello. I'm just going to add just a tiny little thing here because I think sometimes a little goes a long way. So it doesn't mean that you have to do events, you have to organize things, you have to like hold breakfasts, you have to do everything. You don't necessarily have to be like the driver, the person that goes, like we all know we have to do a lot of stuff and we are very much empowered to actually go out and do things, but sometimes it's really the little things that matter, and that can be just someone on Discord. You're reading a message on the Women in Games Discord going like, hey, I need some advice on something. Has anyone gone through this, and that? And you can go, yeah, actually I have. Do you want to talk about it? And that's enough. Yeah. And that's all you need to do. Yeah. Yeah. Just be there for each other. And it's a support network for a reason. Thanks.
Hi, great panel. Thank you so much. It was very
Thank you.
inspiring. And I love the thought of the organization. It is very inspiring, Women in Games, but I would love to hear about your experience as being women in gaming, because we are improving, the statistics are improving, we have more women in the industry, but it's still not great. It's still, as someone who's working it, it's still very hard. So I'd love to hear if you have any experience you'd like to share and how you handled it.
Okay, I can go. Actually, Women in Games was the organization that made me stay in the games because my boss was very toxic and he made me hate it there. I did marketing before, game dev and corporate, and it was very different. And actually, the invitation came at the most needful time for me. And the panels I did as first, as well as the ambassador, we did online panels, I think, on glass ceilings, actually. After the summer I joined, because I joined April 2022. We did panels in August. And it was panels with women from the US, from the UK, struggling with very similar things. And for me, it was like, okay, I'm not alone. They're older, wiser, better than me, and more experienced. And they're doing, going through the same horrible things I'm going through, and I'm not alone in it. So I think, at least for me, the association really grounded me and helped me see that I can reach out to ladies and guys, because there are some men ambassadors as well. Men are welcome in the organization. I don't think there are many of them yet. I think UK has the biggest number. In Poland, not many yet. But yeah, it's very, I think, up and down. I stepped out of games as well because marketing at least is going through a very big crisis since last year. So there are not many jobs, and social media is even worse. So having the association panel today, stay in the loop, is very important, but life is more peaceful outside lots of times. I had a community role in my first job in games, and I loved it, and actually I had a very hardcore community, and I think it depends on your team very much, what kind of support you have, what kind of boss you have, what kind of colleagues you have, because sometimes I felt very welcome, my gender never played a role. Other times, it was the only industry it played a big role in, and it was negative. It was very much the sort of stories you would hear in books, or the sort of stories I expected in films, but not real life. But yeah, I'm still here. So,
I think, if I may, you want to share something, because you were like raising your mic.
No, he will not let us.
Yeah. Really? So I don't have time for my story, how I joined. So I will try to be quick.
I wanted to tell you that we're available, and there is a happy hour that already started,
Yes.
and we'll have lovely conversation with any of you if you have any other questions, I think.
Okay, yeah. This is the lady, this is the power.
Yeah, so thank you again to everybody. Mafalda, Carolina, Maria. No.
Joanna.
Not to you. No, Melania, of course, yeah. Yeah, so thank you very much again. Also, happy hour already started. There probably is a Q&A place where I don't know if you probably gonna
If
get
you have
around
any
to it.
more questions, yes, just catch us by the bar, I guess.
And the happy
I
hour,
will
yes.
share you. I will share with my story with you. I will share my story. I promise.
So thank you very much for the whole day. It was great having you. So have a good one. Bye, everybody.